So there are a ton of VCs out there. Why did you decide to start one?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Andrew.
I suppose so. I've been through that world personally as an investee as opposed to investor, and I sort of had an experience, let's say, that I thought was suboptimal. If I'm going any further. I was surprised really about how money's managed by other people, and I was also lucky enough to be in the company of people who had received the right type of support. So entrepreneurs who had maybe got really good venture capitalists behind them, really good people who did make a real difference in their lives. A few of the people I was on a trip to China with, I was selected as one of the top 10 young IT entrepreneurs to go on a trip to China with George Osborne, and some of those people on that.
That's top 10 in the whole of UK, by the way.
Wow.
Just to let you know, that's like.
Now, this is a few years ago. Obviously, I've lost a bit of hair. But some of those people went on to absolutely amazing things. So John Reynolds of SwiftKey was on the mission. Another company, Touch Surgery, if anyone's heard of it, have hit a $2 billion valuation. John Reynolds exited, it was 2016, for about $250 million. So these people had the right sort of people behind them. Not necessarily from the start, but they came in contact with those people. And I felt, well, there's nothing like that I've seen in Belfast. There's nothing like that really would change a founder's life and get them to think big. So, as an example, people that I come in contact with locally, and being one of them myself, pardon me, sorry, they maybe raised £250,000 and they would have to get some revenue with that money. Whereas others I had met had been raising tens of millions of pounds and were driven by creating value. And that's really where we wanted to start, was to create something that would allow founders to create real value before going to the next stage in the journey. We look at Google. I mean, I think it's one of the simplest horizon-driven models. Google first stage, what do? They essentially index what was to become the internet. More and more people joined it along their journey. And they were able to index this for us to then find what we're looking for much more easily. Second phase of that is buy a series of companies in order to provide an advertising mechanism to allow businesses to pay to get access to those people doing the searches. Next phase, let's create lots more products that give us more insight into who those people really are. And the fourth stage is to monetize that even better. Essentially use that personalized information to target those individuals. So that's a big model taking decades now, essentially.
Yeah.
And there were no funders I could see going to help a Belfast company to go on that type of journey. So we wanted to make that possible.
So, for instance, Google, I think, had no revenue for the first 7 or 8 years.
Oh, my word.
And then no revenue, and then the first year it had revenue, it was like, how many billion?
Yeah, well, I'm trying. Whenever I was Tribelast, it was like 75, but it's over that now.
Yeah. So
very, very quickly.
So no what we have. So I was embedded then in this ecosystem here in Belfast on the journey with Andrew for over a year, and sort of I started questioning, along watching Andrew and hearing his story and hearing the story of other people, and questioning why are we not, I do podcasts myself all the time and talk about the Industrial Revolution when we were leading the way. The Belfast was the #1 shipbuilder in the world, which was the main way to transport stuff around the world, and we led the way. Okay, linen, we used to be called Linenopolis back in the Industrial Revolution, and that sort of heritage is really important to me. And I think we need to get back. We need people who want to have that level of success for this part of the world. Okay, I'm really, really passionate about doing that for Northern Ireland. And then I'm looking at this ecosystem, and there's a lot of focus on it. We there's a lot of desire for it to be successful, but how many exits are we having from Northern Ireland? How many people are we taking from seed and bringing them to London, or bringing them to California, or bringing them to Singapore and getting a Series A or a Series B or Series C? How often that? It just doesn't. It doesn't even happen. And there's a reason it doesn't happen. It's because nobody's really trying to achieve it. Right? We're setting up a startup here. The ticket size is 200,000. Whether you need 200,000 or not, you might actually only need 50. But there's no ticket size is 200 grand, and there you go. There's your 200 grand, and go away and play in the sand for a while, and come back to us in 18 months and see how you've got on. You know, or we might give jobs to the boys and out of that 200 grand. Anyway, there's a whole lot of other things going on, and we were discussing, right, why is nobody actively trying to get them to that Series A, Series B? So to take the companies from 1 to 3 million valuation, say, great founders with great ideas, bit of innovation, and instead of saying, what's your revenue model, what's your revenue model, what's your revenue model, you need to get some money in here, you need to get money, saying to them, that's a brilliant idea, where could you go with this idea? Is this a $1 billion idea? Right? You see the difference in the mind?
Big time,
you know, that's the difference. We're not saying, where's the revenue model, where's the revenue model? And that's what always happens in Northern Ireland.
I remember being at a conference in the Titanic Hotel, and you were speaking at it, and there was a guy on stage, I don't know why this came into my head, and he was one of Gary V's team, and he said something. He says,
Calvin Hamilton.
He said, it is the people who can hold their breath for the longest wins.
100%.
I thought that was crazy.
You just give me goosebumps there. That was very much in line with my speech, actually. Stop selling, start adding value. And the longer, I think if you remember that thing there, I said, I was doing mentorship for free. And I said, the longer I can do that for free, I said, see the day I start charging, I'm going to be the highest paid mentor in Northern Ireland. I said that in that speech. And I said, you know what? In fact, I might just do that just to prove I'm right.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of haters actually out of that, but I proved I was right. Anyway, so who can actually develop that idea, and then go on a journey from that idea with the founders and take them in 18 months to 3 years to their Series A valuation of, say, 5 to 20 million. That's really what our USP is about, certainly from Northern Irish VC perspective. Nobody else is really thinking about that's the journey. So we're thinking about where we get off the journey as such in terms of the mentorship piece. Not, are we going to hold your hand here and create half a dozen jobs and a few sales jobs?
Yeah.
We're saying, are we going to blow this idea up to be something absolutely incredible?
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of transformation. I mean, the average founder, and probably talking about values, they aren't driven necessarily to create a huge legacy. It's not why they're in it. They want a nice car, a nice house, make a few million of revenue, and that'll be a very happy life for that individual. So that's not the sort of person we're looking for. We're looking for someone who really wants to create a legacy. Now, we talk about £1 billion as the valuation we're trying to get to, the traditional unicorn, so to speak. But realistically, it's not necessarily about the exact cash position. It's about the mindset. It's how does that person think? Are they trying to create a nice house and life for their loved ones? Or are they looking to change the world? Because if you're looking to change the world, you'll go further, you'll work harder, you just push the envelope to another level. But it's not for everyone. So legacy is one of these core values that we have. Do you want to create something bigger than yourself? Leadership. Can this person articulate that and make that clear? I'll let Gav you talk a bit more on that front. Quality. So how do people deliver their idea? And do they deliver it on time, on budget, give you what you're expecting? And lastly, and maybe most significantly, is sacrifice. The fact that even in the good times, you are needing to sacrifice your life. You may be, on paper, don't know about a billionaire, but someone with a significant wallet size, let's say, but you can't even spend it because you're so entwined in this vision that you've created, that you're going to be there another 5 years after having become a success. And that's a different type of sacrifice that most people are prepared to give.
So I'm going to hit you quite hard here. This is a big one, okay? So you stole my notes. You went through the core values there, so I was going to read them out. But actually, I'm interested to see examples of each of these core values in each of your lives. So starting from the bottom, how have you give us a story, give an example of sacrifice?
Right, so sacrifice. Now, and this is, you see, in this, in the 21st century, and now with all the self-care, etc. This is, I know, I'm looking at you, not Thompson. this is a difficult sell for people, okay? Yeah. And we're being upfront about it. This goes against...
well, like Andrew said, this is not for everyone.
It's not for everyone, and that's why it's not that we are saying that we're going to be hitting people. You got to have this. You got to want to do this. I can tell you, I have lots of businesses. I employ lots of people. I have really significant turnovers, etc. I could be away, sitting with my feet up, enjoying myself and having a good life. Yet I've decided to do my own sacrifice, etc., into this pit, and this is much more difficult because of the cognitive load of trying to create institutional and structural change every single day. That's what we're trying to do. So in terms of sacrifice, really easy one for me. Done podcast episodes about this. I can go when I lost everything. So I was a barrister and a lot of property and stuff, but I got wiped out in the property crash, and I did a plan. It was called 7-Year Sacrifice. I wrote down one of the first things I talked about with Andrew when we met. Why did your wife stay? And I said, you know why my wife stuck with me? And very, very interestingly, my wife begged me to go back to being a barrister because I earned hundreds of thousands of pounds as a barrister. And if I'd gone back at that stage, I would probably have had enough money to keep the banks happy because I had just given up the bar, right? And I refused that because I said, I've got into my entrepreneurial stuff and this is where I'm going. We're going to have to lose everything to start again, right? But what I did to her was I said, here's our plan. And it was 7 years of sacrifice. I've talked about it in your podcast before, actually. 7 years of sacrifice. At the end of that 7 years, we'll be back to where we were before. Okay, and I plotted it all out and what we're going to have to give up on the out-of-date food that we were going to have to eat, and me cutting my own hair to save on time and money, and never going in rush hour traffic to save on your time, no passport for 7 years, never off the island of Ireland for 7 years, 32 days holiday in total for 7 years. I worked every other day apart from that, including Christmas Day. Now that was all in a plan of 7 years sacrifice. I called it 7 years sacrifice. At the end of that 7 years sacrifice, my wife had said to me, there's only one thing that she wanted. At the end of that, if I delivered all of that and got us back, she didn't give a damn about the money anyway. It wasn't about money, it was about, it's not it's about success, right? I am passionate about that. So at the end of that, she said, you have to go back to church. Because I said, I cannot go to church during that period of time. Yeah. Because I don't have time. She says, at the end of that 7 years, you have to go to church with the family every Sunday. And I did that. And she was the happiest woman in the country because of that. But that sacrifice, if I hadn't have already... So what happens is on a Friday night, your mates... So you've got a plan to actually achieve something, whether say it's a diet or it's a new business or whatever, and your mates, come on, we're going down the pub, lads. Come on. See if you haven't written down your sacrifice, your plan, what your goal is. Yeah. You'll go down the pub. Sure. Which will wreck your Saturday. But if you sketched out what your sacrifices are, I actually think you write them down like your goals. You're far more likely to stick to what it is that you're going to sacrifice. So that for me, that's a dead simple example of 7 years of sacrifice, and it paid off massively for me.
Unreal. Mr. Cuthbert?
Mine's more accidental than that, I would say. I wasn't as planned as that, but I mean, really, I've put my lifetime into technology, health, education, were the three main areas. And off the back of that, I've gained a massive amount of experience. Now, I built a company that had significant enough turnover, and I mean, 60 plus staff, 100 odd people if you include contractors. So it was sizable enough in tech terms, in Belfast terms at least. But what happened next was that that business got taken over by my biggest client. I learned a lot from that experience, and it's one of the ones that when me and Gavin first met, we dwelled on and talked through, and so as Gavin could actually understand this craziness almost of the way I would think about these things. I think sacrifice for me is a natural way of being. It is just how I exist. I don't really... I'd be very stoic in my approach insofar as my outlook in life is plan for the negatives, expect all the negatives. If you get a positive, I probably fail to celebrate them enough. And that can be hard to work with. So for me, I need to become more self-aware about that. And essentially, again, it's a part that Gavin definitely helps me with, particularly for founders, because they have to celebrate their wins. Sacrifice is important, but just that small, yeah, we've done something today. This has been really good, guys. Let's celebrate. That should still happen. The extent of that celebration is kind of where you need to limit, just because everyone's a small win. You don't really make massive changes overnight, so it's going to take a bit of effort and time. And I think 10 years is the realistic time frame for the average tech or science founder. Science maybe even longer than that. But it's going to take you a very long time to deliver on a concept, and you're going to have to give it everything.
Yeah.
And you're not going to know when enough is enough. It's going to have only come to light what was enough after you've got there. So you work another year and then realize, oh, I'm already a success. Isn't that great? You know, it's an afterthought, not part of the plan.
So talk to me about quality, because your definition of quality is unlike my definition of quality. So where did that come from, and unpack that for us?
Yeah, so it was actually part of my MBA. So a book by a guy called Philip Crosby. Term quality is free. So quality really is free. If you are looking to create an idea, so let's say we take Ryanair as an example, it has qualities that they very much measure themselves on. Flight leaving on time, making sure that what you expect is what you actually get. And they're very, very good at that. Yet we generally say that quality is something about a standard, as if quality is something that has a luxury to it. And quality isn't necessarily that. It's knowing exactly what you're going to deliver and making sure that's what it is that you receive at the other end. So to me, probably his book encapsulates what quality really is. And it can define so many things. It says in your deadline focused, you're focused on a quality standard or an ISO or anything. This is about real quality of what did you plan to deliver, and then what did you actually deliver.
So then, what's some of the real quality in your life, Mr. Wall?
For me, it's turning up every single day to deliver. Every single day. You have to. You have to have your life organised in a way that you can do that. The reason that I can do it is because I have such great support at home. And if you're incapable of organising your life, so I mean, he'll remember this. I can remember we were working with somebody and an important meeting, and they didn't turn up. And the two of us just looked at each other, and Jesus, how does that even happen? You have to be prepared to know that if you go on a journey like this, and if you're trying to change an industry of the world or create $1 billion company, he knows I always say dollar, he always says pound. You know, I don't know whether it's a Brexit thing or something.
Up on a wee it won't matter after Brexit. It's going to summer.
So, this is tough stuff. So it's consistent delivery. Okay, so quality in layman's term might be consistent delivery. So you have to have your life set up in a way that enables you to deliver it. And it's actually something, it's an interesting one in relation to Andrew's life, and it's something I did have a little go at Andrew and his. I said, yeah, it's okay working 100 hours a week, which Andrew works every single week. That's fine. what quality are you bringing back to your family? Okay, in terms of, because Andrew will be away adding massive value to all sorts of people, doing work, creating thousands and millions of pounds worth of value for other people, and actually his own sort of wee treasure chest is a wee bit bare. I don't know if that sounds negative, but it's just because he's a giver.
Well, like you said, natural sacrifice.
Yeah, natural sacrifice
in you for whatever reason,
Yeah, but you bring your family as well then on a journey, and you have to have a little bit of selfishness for them, because they then enable you to keep going with this on a consistent piece of time. So for me, my family and my wife, and I have massive support there, that enables me to turn up every single day to go and deliver again.
And Gavin, as one thing, I suppose, going back to the earlier an earlier episode, but I remember that meeting you were talking about where we're sitting there and waiting for the guy. And my normal behaviour, and this is where we reinforce each other's quality standards, where I would have been, okay, sure, he'll turn up the next day.
Yeah.
And I would have worked to make up for that person with my natural bent as such. Whereas Gavin, that really had annoyed you, Gavin, because, I mean, rightly so. It was that this guy wasn't focused, didn't make the sacrifice we had made. And he let us turn up and hadn't told us in advance, if you know. And so it's definitely wasn't on. But my normal way would have been, oh, well, sure, I'll just make up for that problem.
Yeah.
Whereas Gavin's a very good balance.
No, we didn't have to factor that in. And then that's why we developed our values. Does a person meet the values? Do these founders meet the values? So we can actually measure that and deliver it upon the amount of time. We spend quite a bit of time with our founders before we actually back them, a lot more than would normally be in a standard VC play. And this is when we get the time to actually judge, do they meet the four values that we're looking for.
Definitely.
So the second one's leadership. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So leadership, look,
because leadership's a hot take. We've just done a series on leadership for the podcast, and everyone's got a different opinion off it. Everyone
look, and it's different. There isn't one form. There's servant leaders. I'm probably a servant leader. I think I am anyway. But I like to do it with a bit of bravado at the same. A wee bit of secret sauce, Yeah, I'm definitely a servant leader as well. But look, there's all sorts of different types of leadership, and there's people just with such drive that people just think, I just have to follow that person. There's the salesperson type of approach, and people just, maybe the Gary Vee type, wow, what is that? And that looks very sparkly and I want to follow that. There's other ones that are just with such intellect, people just go. There's all sorts of different type, but we have to evidence, the team has to evidence that there is, they will be able to create a desire within their customer base, within their potential employee base, within their industry. I mean, if you're going to disrupt an industry, right, you're going to have to attract some of the best people from other businesses in that industry.
Yeah.
Or otherwise you'll not be able to disrupt it. And you're going to have to create such a narrative, right, that those people over there think, holy shit, that bastard's about to disrupt this industry. I better get on his ship or her ship first.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to be left behind in the sinking ship. Okay. I've done that hopefully quite successfully with my own trading business, etc. I've talked quite a bit about that at different at various things. That's your number one. That's whenever I feel recruitment consultants sometimes think I'm often having to go with them, but what I'm actually saying is that people need to show their own leadership skills and exhibit those to the world, to their competitors, to potential employees, to potential customers, so that they can attract people into their own businesses rather than just outsourcing that as a function.
Sure.
So we're looking for people who can show they can do that.
And I would say, some of my favorite leadership that's interesting is just, I in my LinkedIn have hundreds of people say I'm a good leader. Hundreds of people say I'm a good manager, and the ones who say I'm a good manager are definitely wrong. Because it is all the things Gavin's been talking about. I mean, a leader tends to be someone who you want to follow. They create a pathway for you to walk towards. They can be disruptive thinkers, and in our case, they invariably are. But realistically, they're not the person who tends to be good normally at managing, at getting people to testing them, checking up on them, making sure they're going the right direction. Mm-hmm. So you tend to find you need co-founders, you need leadership in a business, but you need someone who can manage and bring the majority along, because not everyone's a founder, not everyone's going to have the same mentality as you grow and build a business, particularly in tech. Some people are essentially basically working to live, not living to work, as founders tend to be. And you have to build a culture that attracts all those people. You need management as well as leadership, but leadership's the one we feel if you don't have, you're probably not a change business.
Yeah, you can buy in management.
Yeah,
that can be another part of your business at the early stage. You need the leadership. I mean, we both know that we're leaders, and we have some management ability, but it's much better. I employ much better managers than me. I am not a strong manager. I believe, hopefully, I'm a strong leader, but management, average. I'm probably Andrew's a great. He's a brilliant manager for people who have growth mindsets, and if you don't have a growth mindset, he's not.
That's true. That's true.
That's my take on it. I've seen it at close quarters, and that's what I say to him. If you have a growth mindset, brilliant.
Yeah,
he's really, really good. If you don't, he's a nightmare. He'll scramble your head.
Yeah.
So yeah, leadership. So we believe we both have that. We've both demonstrated that, and we're looking for that.
I think, Andrew, like based on what I've known from you, from talking to you, and even just from today, you strike me as the kind of guy that probably thinks about legacy more than 99.9% people on the planet. Why is legacy so important to you?
That's a good question.
That's why I'm here.
I suppose I feel that it's part of my personality. Truthfully, I don't know if you call it humble, but I don't think much of myself, truthfully. And that probably gives me the chance to think, what can I create? If I am nothing, it's kind of where I start from. The thing that really matters is about what do I create in the world? What do I change? What do I make better for other people? And how do I make their lives special? So it's a sort of a very central core feeling of a need for purpose. So why do I exist? That's really what I say drives me forward. Why am I here? Well, I'm here hopefully to make the world a better place, to be the change. Gavin gave me this title, Rocket Man. So we're going to our episode, but yeah. So yeah, pretty much it's about very wholesome feeling of trying to make a difference.
And is this you clinging on to the rocket?
Yeah, it is indeed. Yeah, I'm not sure. It is anyways. I mean, it was. I think Gavin thinks because we've worked in things like satellites and all sorts that yeah, I'm kind of a bit of a boffin, so to speak. I mean, very much. I'm hoping this also signifies just a desire to really drive things forward quickly and make sure that you kind of take the easiest possible route. So don't kind of miss the obvious and allow another big company to take you over. Make sure that you're the one who sees the opportunity, grasp it and run with it. So get on the rocket and just ride it. Don't wait for that second chance that you may never get. If you have that idea today, you should be starting it today.
Yeah,
you should be jacking in that job that just over broke, as I see it, and essentially moving forward to create a successful concept. Give it your all. Yeah, hence the Rocket Man.
Nice. And so, what about you, Speed Mentor? What are you looking to leave behind?
For like,
at the end,
it has to be huge. Honestly,
what do you want to be left?
It's almost painful. I have been very, very lucky to have had good jobs as solicitors, great careers as barrister, property, retail. And people always say to me, and now I'm giving up my speed mentor piece. So that's been really successful for me for the last while, doing my speed mentor retreats. And I get paid handsomely to mentor lots of other business people across Northern Ireland. And I absolutely love it. And the results are outstanding. And I had a very difficult decision. So I'm saying, yeah, I get well paid for that. And I get, have my trading business and all.
That's personally very gratifying.
Yeah,
it's
personally.
Yeah.
And then I said, yeah, and you know what? I could be probably what's the outcome? I end up probably the best known business person in Northern Ireland, possibly, without being conceited. But that doesn't mean you're the best. Just through the publicity of that, etc., and through enhancing other people's lives, like that, it's pretty big.
Yeah, it is.
And I know I can do that, and I get well paid for that. But it's not changing the world.
I don't see him giving that part up, by the way. That's one thing.
It's sort of,
I think he's now putting it into these 8 or 10 people that are going to change the world.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just a more intense version of what he's been.
But that in the ordinary standard, that's a great business, and there it is there. Why would you give it up for the unknown? The reason you give it up for the unknown is because you're trying to create a legacy.
Yeah.
Right? That's even bigger than that. Okay, because I want to channel all of that experience and knowledge that I have there into the change to create a legacy that's so huge that it's just undeniable that Andrew and I and the rest of our team have created something that Northern Ireland hasn't seen since Linopolis or since the Titanic days, etc., when we were at the front of the Industrial Revolution. The technological revolution. We want Northern Ireland to be at the forefront of that, and that's why you give up, or repurpose well-paid jobs, etc., to funnel it into something that you believe can create just an enormous legacy. For all of these founders that we be working with, look, they can go and get, in Liberty IT or something, they maybe go and get paid 80 grand a year or something like that, which is a nice salary in Belfast for a young person often, or something in their 30s, or whatever age they might be, it doesn't really matter. That's what's there. That's the banker. Okay? Or just over broke as Andre. But the person who's prepared to walk away from that because they want to create something bigger. I don't know, Matt, you probably have it, I know from working with you a while, when you have something inside you that says that you were meant to create something, right? I don't know how many people out there actually think that and just give up on it, or whether it's just myself and Andrew and a few others, I don't know, but I have this thing, you're meant to create something, and a really good job as a barrister, or a really good trading business, or a really good mentorship thing. That still isn't enough. I don't know when's enough, but because you want a legacy for the country.
I'm not even going to say anything, because that's the perfect way to end this one.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you.